thought leader in AI and technology, both present and future. And he's taught at MIT, Harvard, Brown. Like Brand mentioned, he did a TED Talk here at Babson as well. And yeah, we're just going to leave it to him to share his knowledge that he's accumulated over the years that he's been in the field.
Great,
so everybody, thank you, Mike.
Thanks for having me. So hello, everybody. How are we doing today?
Good.
Okay. So a little bit more about my background. I'm not an educator as much as I am an entrepreneur. So I know we're sitting here in a class called New Tech Ventures. So I co-founded 8 tech startups over the last 25 years, took them public. 7 of 8 were acquired by people like IBM and Cisco and AT&T and Oracle. And I'm now about to launch my 9th AI-based startup. So this has been sort of my day job. And my second job has been to be a professor pretty much for the last 22 years consecutively. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. I started my career in Silicon Valley. For those, who's going on the Silicon Valley Odyssey? A few of you? Just 1 or 2 of you. Wow, what if not more in this class? Okay. Anyway, so let me just build on what Steve just said, right? And he talks about the fact that you want to be thinking very, very expansively about the future. Now, a lot of you, how many of you know what product solution fit is? Who knows what product solution fit is? Product solution fit comes right out of the Lean Startup methodology. I bet you all know what product market fit is, right? But have you ever heard of founder future fit? Anybody have any idea what founder future fit might be? This is exactly what Steve is talking about. Yeah, please.
The founder is good for the future of the company as well as now, and will be good for the future growth of it as well as the startup currently.
So a little bit more toward the future, right? So let's think about what founder future fit means, right? Think of a guy like Sam Altman. Sam Altman could not be a more ideal representative of the AI revolution, okay? He spent so much time running Y Combinator. He's been immersed in Silicon Valley for forever. He's an amazing visionary, an amazing salesperson. And when you think about who more than anybody embodies the AI future, he and OpenAI are that entity. Now, let me take you back to just 2 others, right? You guys, I think you've all heard of Elon Musk, okay? So in Silicon Valley, we don't do anything other than pull the future forward. That is the job of a Silicon Valley founder. Hey, Josh, to pull the future forward. So you backcast. You say, I envision this audacious future, and I want to be the person that actually makes that future happen sooner than it would by itself. And of course, Musk had very preposterous, audacious visions about the future. Tesla was the least audacious of all, although it was pretty damn audacious in 2003. Okay, but think about SpaceX. Think about what he's done with SpaceX, right? So this is a guy that embodies audaciousness. He is a perfect founder future fit for electric vehicles, for brain implants, for the next generation of space exploration. How many of you know the name Mark Andreessen? What is Mark Andreessen best known for?
He was Netscape.
Beautiful. So he was the founder of Netscape. Now, Netscape may not be a name that's familiar to most of you, but if it wasn't for Mark Andreessen, we would not be on the World Wide Web, right? Other than Steve and I, you probably can't imagine there was a time before the web. And Andreessen was a PhD student working at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and this is a world-class public university for coding. He was doing supercomputing research in the late 90s at a time when the internet was only accessible to academic researchers and people in the military industry. And he said, why can't I collaborate with my peers in universities all around the world? I'm going to do something about it. And he brought the future forward by creating the World Wide Web, by democratizing access to the internet. So these were all audacious visions, and these were all founders that were uniquely and authentically capable of making these visions a reality. Now let's look at the antithesis of this. Sam Bankman-Fried. What is Bankman-Fried known for? He was the face of the crypto industry, but he was a fraud. And he's now serving 25 years in a federal prison for one of the greatest frauds ever perpetrated in history, right? So when you think about your presentations in the couple of weeks, right, as Steve pushes you to be very expansive and very visionary, think about your founder future fit, or the team's founder future fit. So now that we're talking about that, now Steve wants me to talk about AI, right, my favorite topic. So let's talk a bit about AI, first of all. So how many of you consider yourselves to be power users of AI today? Really wake up in the morning and you say, you know what, I've got 8, 9, 10 tabs open on my browser, and I'm going to use AI to do everything, help me do everything in my life. Raise your hands high. And for those of you who are not, what's going on? I mean, man, it's 2024, it's going to be 2025. ChatGPT dropped almost exactly 2 years ago today. And let me tell you, the cost of AI has fallen by 100x in 1 year. 100x. What was Moore's law? Moore's law that the price of computing power would fall by a half every 2 years. We have never seen the improvement in the price performance of technology. Nothing has come close to this. Spencer and I were at an MIT event maybe 3 weeks ago now, and there was a company that spun out of the MIT AI lab called Liquid AI. They are developing and delivering these incredibly performative, memory-efficient models that are able to perform at the same exact levels of sort of what we would call this MMLU benchmark as models that are thousands of times bigger. And so this is going to start to push AI to edge devices. It's going to move it into pretty much every application that you can think about. So the AI future is coming at you faster than you can imagine. And the challenge is the future is being created in Silicon Valley, it's being created in research labs, but it's not necessarily being created here in Babson Park, right? There's some isolation from what's happening in the world of tech. And so I know that Josh has asked me, and I love doing this, I'm gonna run a bunch of hackathons in Boston in the spring, and we're gonna have Harvard and MIT and Northeastern and BU, and I've got a team coming in from the University of Toronto, I've got a team coming in from the University of Illinois, right? And I think it's important for all of you to go beyond the boundaries of Babson and to really have the opportunity to mix it up with people that are exposed to those doing PhDs in AI, doing PhDs in computer science, doing PhDs in computers, okay? Because you can't see the future if you're not mixing it up with these people, period. So let's talk about what's going on now in the world of AI, right? How many of you used Chegg? How many were Chegg users in high school or even here? Raise your hands if you've used Chegg. How has Chegg been doing lately? They kicking butt? Their stock is down 99%. That's a hard thing to do. Why do you think their stock is down 99%? Because they missed the AI revolution. Okay? Yeah, please.
I was going this morning.
And so, when you think about Chegg, right? When did do you use Chegg now?
I mean, not a lot, but I have used it before.
Okay, you've used it before. So, is there any reason why you might use it today and pay them $20 a month when you have OpenAI for free?
No.
Okay, so this is an example of a company that is not thinking about the future. Everybody in the Valley knew that OpenAI was generating these large language models and they were coming. But the founders that embrace the future act on it. So who knows who Sal Khan is? Founder of the Khan Academy, right? And what did Sal Khan do? Something completely different from the founders of Chegg. He worked with Sam Altman. They anticipated that one of the major industries that would be affected by generative AI would be education. Because what is ChatGPT best at, right? Words and language. And so Sal Khan was ready on day one when ChatGPT 3.5 launched on November 22nd, 2022. Khanmigo was launched. They were ready at the same exact time. So you look at a founder like Khan, who embraced the future, who recognized that his business would be at great risk, And then you look at the founders of Chegg that just sort of let the future happen to them. And in the odds of Chegg pulling out of this nosedive are less than 0, as far as I can tell. Now, how many of you are working on AI-related startup projects today? Raise your hand high. What kinds of AI, other than Gen AI? Any other kinds of AI that we're talking about besides Gen AI?
Healthcare.
Okay, I mean, that's an application
Yeah.
of AI, right? But are we talking about machine learning? Are we talking about, voice AI? Are we talking about other elements under AI? Or, yeah, please.
EEG classification.
Say again?
EEG classification.
Okay, thank you. Right, so yeah, please.
We have machine learning a little bit.
Okay.
And then like consulting, so it's like applying other tools that already exist.
Cool. So let's think about how many people, there's another hand up? Yeah, please.
RAG within machine learning.
Okay, so retrieval augmented generation, which is very, very straightforward stuff, right? Cool. So let me ask you this. Do you think starting a company based on AI is an advantage? That by having AI in your platform, by having AI in your solution, you are at the leading edge of the world and that you have an automatic advantage? You're nodding yes. Okay, why do you think that?
I don't know, to be honest, I just feel like with the way media's portraying it, maybe, but
Okay.
I could see the exact other perspective.
All right, so the answer is absolutely not, okay? And the reason is because AI is available to everybody, right? All of these large language models are available to all of us. Even if you don't pay OpenAI or Anthropic $20 a month, it's available to all of us. So as a result of that, AI is already a commodity. It does not confer on you some competitive advantage. It's what you do with AI that will allow you to achieve a competitive advantage. So I want to go back to Polly. So DePauli made the statement that, she was using retrieval augmented generation. So let's talk about a company called Harvey AI. How many of you have heard of Harvey AI? Harvey AI is kicking butt and taking names right now. Harvey AI was another company that launched simultaneously with the ChatGPT 3.5 launch. Harvey AI is fine-tuned for the legal industry. And what they did is they ingested tens of thousands of documents on case law and case precedents and a lot of other legally related information. And they have closed 150 of the top law firms in the United States. Do you think that the legal industry has typically been an early adopter of technology? They're one of the most conservative industries in the world, okay? And yet Harvey, in 18 months, has closed 150 of the top law firms. Why? Because they trained an OpenAI large language model using retrieval augmented generation to be able to draw upon massive amounts of industry-specific information. This is how you don't get hallucinations, because you're not using Reddit and X and all the other nonsensical crap that's been hoovered up into these models. You're using very, very legitimate sources of information. So retrieval augmented generation is a relatively straightforward thing. But this is what's called building a wrapper around OpenAI or around one of the other large language models, right? This is probably the most straightforward way to create a company today, okay? So the question that you have to ask yourselves is, what level of insight or expertise are you bringing to your projects that will allow you to understand how you're going to solve a problem using AI? Because remember, everyone has access to the same data, okay? So one of the reasons that Harvey AI was so successful is because their technical co-founder has a PhD in neuroscience from Cambridge University. And he spent years working at DeepMind, which is the world's most sophisticated AI lab, in England. He worked at Google Brain, he worked at Meta. So, absent having someone like a Gabriel Pereira, who is the co-founder, the technical co-founder of Harvey AI, the question you have to ask yourself is, where am I going to find someone? Right? And I'm not just saying for this class. I realize you can't do that within the context of this class. But if you're serious about taking your company into the market after Babson, if you really want to start an AI company, you're going to need to find a way to partner with someone who is a world-class AI technologist. You're not going to be able to do it without that type of person. And I realize we have Olin across the campus, but Olin is not the center of the AI world. Okay? The center of the AI world is in Cerebral Valley in California. It's at Hacker House Zero. It's at NEMO, some of these accelerators that are ultra competitive, right? This is where the world-class practitioners of AI are living and working and creating the future. How many of you feel like you have the desire to go and live and work in the Valley to launch your, so that's great. So Jeffrey, say more. What's your plan? I know you were with Dell, right? And going back to Dell. But will you work for Dell out of the Valley?
No, I'll be working out of Boston, but I do want to go to Stanford for graduate school one day. That's a dream of mine.
Yeah. All right, Colin, who else had their hand up? Yeah, please, Nepali, and then you, yeah.
So I live in the valley.
So you grew up there?
Yeah.
Okay,
So for me, we're going back and working in tech.
okay, that's great.
Same thing for me.
Okay, you grew up in the Valley as well? Cool. I mean, and I know Steve's taking, 20, 25 students to the Valley, and it's unfortunate that some of you are not gonna join that trip because he's got a hell of a trip lined up for people, right? But this is really where the future is being created. And I love Boston, so I'm not here to denigrate Boston. But I'm telling you that there is such a gap between what is happening in the Valley right now and what is happening everywhere else. It's huge. So the second thing you have to understand is it's not just about access to capital, okay? So how many people remember the company Lensa? Anybody? There was a point very early on when Lensa was a thing. And what Lensa would do is you gave it $15 and it would generate 50 photos of you, okay? And they were photos across a whole bunch of different kind of categories, right? And it worked great. And then of course the next advance of ChatGPT made it irrelevant. How many of you have used Character AI? Anybody know Character AI? Character AI was something that many, many young kids were spending 5 or 6 hours on. Unfortunately, one young 14-year-old just committed suicide. And it was in the news recently because he fell in love with one of the bots on Character AI. But I mention it for a very different reason. Character AI was led by one of the greatest AI researchers in modern history who had been at Google. They had access to infinite capital, and they still couldn't compete. They basically shut the company down, and the founder went back to Google. And I can share many examples, including another one, Inflection AI, that was founded by none other than Reid Hoffman. You guys know the name Reid Hoffman? Founder of LinkedIn, senior partner at Greylock, one of the top VC funds, along with a guy named Mustafa Suleyman, who was a founder of DeepMind, and who is now running AI for Microsoft. They had multiple billions of dollars of venture capital in the bank, and they could not compete. They put up the white flag. So this is not about just having access to capital. It's about having really unique insights. And now we're shifting to a new era of AI. We've gone from the first era, which is you have these large language models trying to predict the next word, to what we call the era of reasoning. And who wants to talk about the era of reasoning? Who's been paying attention to some of the more recent models that have been born in the Valley? What do we know about the era of reasoning? Who has seen ChatGPT 01? Please.
Yeah, so like you said, instead of trying to predict just the next word, also trying to understand
Okay, thank you. And you had your hand up, my friend, in the blue shirt?
Yes. Yeah, like O1, I kind of want to use it to much different than ChatGPT because it shows the reasoning behind everything, and then it also like cites like where it's finding the information by upload articles or PDFs.
Well, that's a little different. That's ChatGPT search. Okay, that's the product that they're using to compete with Perplexity.
Oh.
and they're competing with, the classic Google search.
Which when I'm uploading my documents.
Right.
Not like, what's it called? Not what's called documents finding from the internet, not like, what's
Right.
called complexity.
Yeah. So, yeah, please.
The ChatGPT model that I have, like it gives two different outputs for me to choose which one suits me better, and then it obviously learns my style and what I would like.
And so let me ask you, what model is that, do you know?
I have a ChatGPT 4 model, but I think it's the 4.0.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is very different. So the 01 preview came out, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago now. And it is capable of PhD level reasoning. So if you look at the performance improvement of 01, and you look at some of the benchmarks that it's able to manipulate or to manage, it would have won the Math Olympiad. So whether, I don't think there's a lot of math geeks here at Babson. There certainly are at MIT and other places where I teach. But the Math Olympiad, think about it as the Olympics for math. And think about how much of a math genius you have to be to even think about participating. Well, a year ago, people said, well, ChatGPT is never going to do math. Well, a year went by, and ChatGPT now is doing math better than the best mathematicians on the planet. Coding. ChatGPT 01 is now competing in the upper 10th percentile in the most competitive coding competitions on the planet. So think about the Olympics of coding, okay? So if you're not keeping up with this, it's going to be hard to catch up eventually, right? So, I've had the privilege of working with Spencer and with Josh. I know these guys are AI passionistas, okay? And guys, what about you? What do you do to keep up every day? How do you keep up with AI?
A lot of Twitter.
A lot of Twitter, okay? Anything else?
Blogs, reading, YouTube. I have an augmented newsletter that I built.
Okay.
That uses all those together.
Cool. What about you, Josh?
I just hang around Spencer.
There you go. That's why you're the smartest guy in the classroom, okay? Low effort, high impact, right? I got it. But I think the message I want you to take away is that it is accelerating, and it doesn't matter if you want to work in the AI industry. So on the way over, my lovely escort and I had a chance to talk, and she's going to commercial real estate. But she understands that no matter what career she's chosen, understanding AI is going to be critical to your success. It is transforming things, and I know it may sound hyperbolic. Been hanging around this industry for 30 years, spent a lot of my time in Silicon Valley. I've never seen anything within orders of magnitude of impact as I've seen with this, right? So how many of you have taken the Foundations in AI course that Babson has offered? Giovanna, I know you did. And I would, so this is a course I created for Babson last summer, and it was made available in October. I would recommend to some of you, right, and Giovanna can tell you, but it's 4 hours. I think it provides a really good foundation for you. But companies are starting to test you on your AI fluency as you go into the interview process. And so I would encourage you to, do something, whether it's my course or Coursera or Udacity or whatever. I think it's important to learn a lot about it. And then let me just talk about a couple last things, and I want to open it up for questions, okay? Agentic AI. I know Spencer is super excited about agentic AI. How many of you are working on agentic AI related projects today? Okay, Josh, what's the project all about?
So before, across the process, we were helping wealth managers book appointments with high net worth individuals. But one of the issues we had was that we had to, when the lead would come in the pipeline, that the conversation between the AI and the lead was very one-on-one.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to build a manager to manage all the receptionists, all AI receptionists. And so that's
Okay, that's cool. So what agentic AI basically says is that you are going to have a variety of different AI tools that are going to communicate with one another, and they are going to actually do work on your behalf, right? So it will automate different workflows on your behalf, okay? One of the coolest early examples of an AI agent is the world's first sales rep. It comes from a Y Combinator alumni company known as Artisan. And the product is known as Ava. And what Ava is able to do is you're able to onboard Ava just like you would any BDR in your company. And Ava, within 10 minutes, is going to then come up with a sales playbook and a series of different emails that you can then guide her to send, depending on the tone of voice you want Ava to take on. Ava can then send out, she has access to 20 million emails, 20 million emails, okay? So if you're in a B2B company and you are looking to sell your product, Ava is able to now automatically go out and communicate with your prospects, set up meetings with your prospects, set those meetings up on your calendar so that you don't have to go through the pain of cold call. I've had a lot of my exec ed students, including students that took my Babson AI course here, that are out now using Ava, and they've been amazed with how powerful it is. Another agentic AI is Devin. Devin is the first AI software engineer. You can tell Devin, this is what I want you to create. And although Devin's not perfect, it's getting smarter all the time. And Devin will actually write the code, test the code, document the code, and put the code in play. Just this morning, Microsoft announced their agentic capability called Tiny Troop. And what they're doing is they're creating, they have new, smaller, large language models that are going to provide a much quicker way to build agentic AI around a specific number of use cases. Like I want a teammate that I can brainstorm with, for example, right? So agentic AI is where it's going. This is going to be the holy grail of AI. And so what we're seeing as I wrap this up, and I want to open it up to questions, is, you know, a lot of great companies were created after the World Wide Web, right? Salesforce.com was the first example of a software as a services company. And many, many powerful companies were born in that era, and they became very dominant and very profitable. Well, their best days are behind them, because what we're starting to see is we're starting to see people using generative AI and agentic AI to build their own SaaS type applications for a tiny fraction of the cost, that are not generic, but they're very customized to their industry and their company. So if you're in the stock market, I'd be shorting Salesforce.com right now. I'd be shorting a lot of the SaaS companies, because a lot of their long-standing customers are basically turning off their subscriptions, or they're they're negotiating very aggressively to say, you know, we don't need you anymore. We have an ability to do this ourselves now. And so a lot of their average contract values are falling by as much as 50%. And this is catching a lot of these companies by surprise. They weren't ready for this, okay? So this is a moment in history where everything is changing. It's a perfect time to be a student. I wish I was your age during this era. This is the most exciting time in my lifetime to be an entrepreneur, without question, okay? So let me now open it up to questions from the audience. Yeah, please, Jeffrey.
I'm curious about the tech startup that you're currently working on.
Okay.
Could you just talk about that, how it, like the problem you're solving, how it came to come?
Yeah, sure. And it's still in stealth mode, so there's only so much I can say. But what we've noticed, right, if you look at how different industries have adopted AI, many of them are 30 to 40% within any industry have adopted AI. The government has adopted it only about 10%. So the municipal governments, as always, are late adopters on technology. But governments are really struggling to be able to serve their citizens well. So we're looking at bringing data visualization and AI-based insights to municipal governments to help them deliver higher levels of public safety, health, welfare, improve their economy. So that's really what we're targeting. And this came to be because I had several students in my Harvard classroom who had spent their years in governments in New York and other large cities. And they shared with me that they wanted to go do this, but they don't have the tech background. But they have an amazing Rolodex from 20 years of being in government. So they have access to market, and I have sort of startup experience in AI, relevance. And so that's how it came to be. This was a serendipitous collision in my classroom. And you always have to be open to these collisions. You never know when you're going to meet your next co-founder. Okay, so that's what that's all about. And we will be launching probably in January, February. Yeah, please.
So you mentioned a lot of like how the tech world is changing with AI mainly, and our project has to do with like the travel industry and hospitality.
Yeah.
Would you mind speaking on that?
Oh, I mean, so first of all, every industry is changing. Every industry, okay? I mean, so there's no question that, you're starting to see, you've been seeing for a while, whether it be Expedia or Travelocity or a lot of these travel platforms, right? They were one of the very first adopters of trying to bring these agentic bots into the customer experience, right? Helping you to make it easier because, a lot of people complain that travel planning is very arduous, right? And it's very mind-boggling and you've got way too many alternatives. So a lot of these companies have been building bots to improve the experience. So I think the travel industry will be one of the earliest adopters of AI. They already have been, right? And it's really now anticipating for specific traveler or family or a group, right? What are the kinds of travel experiences that they're looking for, regardless of whether they're budget experiences, they're luxury experiences, and then be able to create an incredibly personalized workflow that automates that experience of doing their research, of booking their flights, booking their hotel, booking any of the activities that they want to do, right? Doing all of it on your behalf, right? Because it gets to know you so well that it knows exactly the kind of holiday that you want to take. And then it says, hey, this is the itinerary I put together for you. This is what it's going to cost. Are you in or not? And are there parts of this itinerary that you don't like or you want to change? So that's where it's going to go. Yeah, Josh?
Thank you.
I really like, I think it's really cool that you went the government route.
Yeah.
That's a niche that has like low adoption, that takes a long time for late to adopt it.
Yeah.
New technology. And then you mentioned before, it's like the law firms, is also a niche that is late to adopt technology, but they don't really have a choice right now.
They don't have a choice, exactly.
What's a niche that you feel like us as students can kind of come in and have a lot of, with limited AI experience, and come in and provide large value?
I really think, Josh, it comes down to what your prism is, right? So you grew up with this financial services mindset, right? So the more unique knowledge and the more insight I have, the more passion I have, the more curiosity I have, is going to be what's going to drive my success. So there's no silver bullet that says this is an industry that's not competitive. They're all competitive. But what's going to give you an edge is unique insight, unique, experience, unique passion, that you're going to pursue it until you figure it out. That's really the way I would think about it, right? There's never like this is a great industry or this is a terrible industry, because we've seen people go into really poor markets and be very successful. We've seen people go into very dynamic markets and fail. So I think that's the only way I would think about it. Okay? Great question, though. Yeah, please, and please speak louder, okay?
Yeah, sure. My name is Paul. Remember you said that you touched on how in the past years gotten like 100%
Okay,
cheaper.
Paul, you got to speak louder for me, buddy, okay?
I'm sorry.
Let me come over here.
You said that it's gotten a lot cheaper in terms of cost of AI tools.
Yes.
And on top of that, you said that we should, or if you want to be like one of the best in the field, you need to connect to one of I guess like
Yeah, world-class AI data scientist, yeah, you bet.
I've been grappling with the kind of the speed that different tools have came out. Like, for example, if you're doing the RAG analysis and like it would have been a lot harder to create Harvey a year ago, and now we have a whole suite of AWS tools. How do you like grapple with knowing that stuff that or tools that will make what you're trying to do right now will come out like in 6 months?
All right, it's a great question, okay? So did everybody hear
No.
that?
Mike, just after your last question.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the message was, how can you anticipate so that and I think this is how I interpret your question, right? You're basically trying to say, if I'm using a tool today that I'm building my business on, what are the odds that it's going to get obsoleted? Is that an accurate assessment of the question you asked?
Kind of like it's getting really cheap and tools are getting better really fast. Like how do
Yeah.
to jump in now.
Well, see, this is why you need the AI expert, right? You need someone that sees the trajectory that AI is on, right? So what Sam Altman said, he was on a wonderful podcast I listened to over the weekend. And he said what a lot of mistakes of Silicon Valley AI entrepreneurs made is they couldn't anticipate that the 3.5 model was going to get better, right? And they weren't thinking about the future. They were just thinking about plugging a hole. And so they put a lot of time, energy, and capital into plugging holes in ChatGPT 3.5, when if they knew what we had in the background, right, we already had 4. It already was going to blow away anything they were doing. And so the message again is you need to think broadly, kind of coming full circle to the start of the discussion. You need to anticipate the trajectory 5 years in the future and build the product for 5 years in the future. You don't build the product for today. You build it for 5 years from now, so it's relevant when you deliver it, okay? And that means really immersing yourself in how quickly this technology is advancing and really studying and reading and listening to blogs and podcasts and all that stuff. That's the only way to do it, okay? Because everyone gets blindsided otherwise. I think Steve wanted me to wrap up.
Yeah, Mike's gonna stick around for
Yeah.
later, so you can ask him questions at the, after we're done with the part of the start, and he can be
Yeah.
available. And he's always very available to students
Yeah.
when they want to chat.
Great. All right. Thanks, guys. And I will stick around for the next, for the rest of the class to listen to your presentations, and they're going to do some work in teams as well.
Yeah, if they keep things short, yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Got it.
That's the plan. Thank you. I think now is a great time in